Hello and welcome to the Nano2All webinar. This webinar was developed as part of Nano2All project's training materials. In this session, we will address the case study on nanotechnology innovation precaution. Why do we present this case study? This webinar introduces the concept of precaution. The report on the precautionary principle by the World Commission in Ethics of Scientific Knowledge and New Technologies, COMEST, will be presented. Then, the roles of different stakeholders will be highlighted. What does COMEST say about the precautionary principle? The precautionary principle prescribes risk management methods if there is inconclusive evidence that a new activity may introduce risks to people, society, or the environment. The concept was first introduced in German and Swedish lawmaking in the 1970s. The Rio Declaration from 1992 states, "In order to protect the environment, the precautionary approach shall be widely applied by states according to their capabilities. Where there are threats of serious or irreversible damage, lack of full scientific certainty shall not be used as a reason for postponing cost-effective measures to prevent environmental degradation." The European Union Communication on the Precautionary Principle states, "The precautionary principle applies where scientific evidence is insufficient, inconclusive, or uncertain, and preliminary scientific evaluation indicates that there are reasonable grounds for concern that the potentially dangerous effects on the environment, human, animal, or plant health may be inconsistent with the high level of protection chosen by the EU." In some countries, including the USA, policymakers prefer the term precautionary approach. COMEST considers this wording weaker than precautionary principle because the latter tends to be associated with legal obligations, while the former is more about good intentions. COMEST proposed its own definition in 2005. When human activities may lead to morally unacceptable harm that is scientifically plausible but uncertain, actions shall be taken to avoid or diminish that harm. Morally unacceptable harm refers to harm to humans or the environment that is threatening to human life or health, or serious and effectively irreversible, or inequitable to present or future generations, or imposed without adequate consideration of the human rights of those affected. The judgment of plausibility should be grounded on scientific analysis. Analysis should be ongoing so that chosen actions are subject to review. Uncertainty may apply to, but not be limited to, causality or the bonds of the possible harm. Actions are interventions that are undertaken before harm occurs that seek to avoid or diminish the harm. Actions should be chosen that are proportional to the seriousness of the potential harm, with consideration of their positive and negative consequences, and with an assessment of the moral implications of both the action and the inaction. The choice of action should be the result of the participatory process. What has happened since 2005? The discussion on precaution has not stopped. Some CSOs prefer an even stronger version of the precautionary principle than the EU, frequently calling for moratoriums of the introduction of new technologies on the market until they are proven to be safe. They seem to prefer the Wingfield Statement from 1998. When an activity raises threats to harm to human health or the environment, precautionary measures should be taken even if some cause and effect relationships are not fully established scientifically. In the period between 2013 and 2016, some industry leaders have promoted the innovation principle at the expense of precaution in EU policies for better regulation. They criticize the precautionary principle for being too vague and blocking innovation. The European Political Strategy Centre, led by EU policy advisor Robert Madeleine, outlined Europe's mission to innovate at the request of EC President Juncker. What questions does this raise for participants in a stakeholder dialogue? Do you see a role for precaution in responsible research and innovation in nanotechnology? Which interpretation do you consider most helpful, and why? To conclude, precaution has been a key element of sustainable development and risk governance of emerging technologies with potential impacts on human health and the environment since the 1990s. The concept remains controversial until today. No consensual definition has yet emerged. In the listed sources, you can find further useful information. Thank you very much for your attention, and we hope this webinar has been useful to you.